Hello and welcome to this week's vlog. I'm at a place I've been to before, and if you haven't seen the video I'll link it below and up here. But I want to talk about visualization today, because when I photographed these huts before, I had this idea of doing it in monochrome. So I've been waiting for the tide to be right, and we need to get these beach huts completely surrounded by water. We need a tide of over 5 meters, and it's 5.17 today, and it's literally in 3 minutes time. So the idea today is going to be a monochrome shoot. I'm going to do a shot of these 4 individual ones here, if you can see those, and then I'm going to go to the other end and do the traditional one of all of them, and maybe also a single one. So I'm going to try and get 3 shots out of this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to shoot it really quickly. I'm going to use obviously the Z7 II. Got my case filters, which I'm going to need. So neutral density over the front of the lens. I'm going to shoot them, concentrate on the shooting, and then what we'll do is we'll go back to me in the studio and I'll talk you through the processing, because these are going to be a fine art shot, which a lot of people have done. I'll show you how to do that in Photoshop. I've also just recently got hold of the Nik Silver Efex piece of software, which I used to use years ago. I really love the delicate monochromes that it produces. So I'm shooting this with that in mind. So I've already visualized it. I've got a choice of 3 days this week to photograph this when the tide's right. Tomorrow is supposed to be sunny, as is Wednesday. Today it's raining and it's grey, which is perfect for what I want, because what I want for the horizon is the mist which the rain will produce. So I'm going to put an umbrella up. I'm going to sit the camera under the umbrella, because with the 2-minute exposure, any raindrops on the front will obviously come out. So we want to avoid that very much where we can. So I'm going to say see you back in the studio now, because I'm now going to photograph these beach huts, and the next time I see you I'll be in my studio. Okay, so I'm back in my office now. Let's have a look at processing these. There are several ways that you can go about processing fine art pictures, and I'll go through a couple of those, or 2 or 3 of those quickly with you, but I'm going to just use a background copy of the picture and process it using the clone tool, the remove tool. We'll have a look at generative fill and various other things that we can do just to smooth the background out. So it's just removing that piece of land. Fairly simple, but I shot it with this idea in mind, and that's obviously a tip, that if you're going to shoot things like this, grey days are quite good, because they do make everything just disappear a little bit anyway, so they're a bit of fine arty look. I'm also going to finally finish the image off in Nik Collection 6, something called Silver Efex, which is a piece of software that I've used in the past a long time ago. Always very impressed with the monochromes it comes up with, and it's infinitely adjustable as well, but that will be at the end. The first process is to get rid of the background. So let's jump into Lightroom, and then from Lightroom we're going to go into Photoshop. We could also go into Luminar Neo to get rid of any dust spots, and then we'll finally go into Silver Efex to finish off the image. Okay, so here are 3 images actually. These 2 have been finished. So this is what we're trying to achieve. I'm going to talk you through this one. So at the moment we're in Lightroom, which is where I import most of my images. Now you can see a couple of things wrong with this. Let's just go into the develop module, get rid of this for a second. First thing that's wrong with this is it's not straight. Not quite sure how that happened, but as you can see it was a bit windy and rainy. Not quite straight. And the other thing that's wrong with this is it's slightly underexposed, but I knew that was the case. When there's instead of 90-second exposure, it needed 2 minutes really, but I don't mind, because I know that we can bring up the shadows really easily with this. So we're just going to do that. Trying to get this fairly flat really.
I waited for this cloud, you can just about see it maybe, just to go over this hut and then disappear under this kind of crack here. So the camera is quite high to try and get that, to add a little bit of texture, and I'll tell you why that's important shortly. Let's just go with the exposure. So what we're about half a stop here, look, I'd say about half a stop is about right, so it needed another, as I said earlier, another 30 seconds or so. So that's that. Now to straighten it up, you just use this crop tool, and if you click on the ruler there, or the spirit level, hit it on there, drag it across, and make sure it's on the horizon, and then I'll press return, and that straightened it up. So there we go. I'm going to just do something with it that I sometimes do with these, in as much as I'm going to convert it to black and white, but I'm just going to have a look at the colour sliders here, because I'd quite like the tones of these to be different, and from memory, from the other ones, the blue makes it, so if I drag that down, look at the hut at the back and hut at the front, so that makes a difference. And then we've got the aqua, which makes that middle, or the second one, a bit lighter. It's also doing something with the reflections as well, to make them slightly lighter, maybe something around there will work. And that's pretty much Lightroom done for now. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to open this up in Photoshop, and we're going to get rid of all of this land here and there and there, and then we've got to get rid of all of this. I'll show you various ways we can do it. So to do that, a right click or photo, edit in Photoshop 24, and away we go. So here's our noise reduction layer called Nik 65. That's all fine. Now, different ways to do this. I've seen in the past this kind of thing. Let me just do this for you really quickly. So if I were to select the subject, let's assume that it's selected those huts. Well, it hasn't. Look, there are little bits here. What you can do is Command C on a Mac, it must be Control C on a Windows computer, then Control V, Command V, and if you look there, that's selected that as a separate layer, so you can do that. And then if you then click the layer below and click or press Command T, this is now free transform, so I'll hold the shift key because it keeps everything in focus, and what you'll notice is I can bring the sky, look to the left here, you'll notice that I can bring the sky down, which you can then blend in. So you can do it that way, but I don't want to do that because I think nowadays, with the tools that we now have at our disposal, we can do this a lot more simply than this. So the first thing I'm going to try and do is use the lasso tool. I'm going to get rid of this here, so I'm literally going to lasso around there, and the first thing that we have, let's bring this into the focus so you can see it, is generative fill. So if I just generate this, you notice I've given this a little bit of space, so it's going to find all of this, I think, and hopefully it's going to put that together. Let's see what it does. And we've got 3 different versions, and I want the cleanest version, that one. Good, so that's that done. Simple as that, and already that's improved it. Let's just move this out of the way. So let's do the same thing now with this edge here, generative fill. Let's see how that copes with that. As long as you don't get too close to your main subject, with this, obviously this photograph with this in mind, it should work quite well. Not too bad. 3 versions. Could ask it to do it again and see if it comes up with anything any better. Okay, that's our best version. It's not perfect, but we'll get to that in a minute. Let's click back on the top layer here, which we're going to call Nik 65, and I'm going to use you've got either this removal brush or the healing brush or the spot removal or the patch. Let's try the spot healing brush. Now I'm not brilliant with Photoshop, as you'll probably be able to tell very shortly, but even I can do this quite simply. So that's that. I could also try that. Look at that, that kind of works quite well. But that's already, that's because of that layer, so I need to flatten this down. If I just click these three, I'm going to merge those layers. So there we go, we can use the spot removal, and look how good even now that is, just without doing anything at all. Let's have another go there. Look, this bit will give us a bit of this bit's a bit harder, I think, and it's because it's in between these huts. You see, let's head that in. I'm going to zoom in a bit in a second. Let's just do this bit here while we're at it. See if it'll work. Here it might do. Yeah. Right, zoom in. Let's finish this edge here first. So you can just play around. You can see that's not brilliant, but the spot heal does really well with this. Make the brush smaller. Okay, so that's not kind of working. It's now too close to this. Do that while I'm at it. So what you can also use is the clone tool, and what works really well is if you hold the shift key, line that up there, click it. Oh, that's because I haven't done this properly. There we go. Hold the option key, and then we're going to hold that there. Hold the shift key, click it, hold the shift key again, and that should bring that up into a straight line. Look. So actually, I needed to go further out. So let's try that, because it's taking bits that are not cloned properly. So if I can make, as long as I can make that into a clear gap, I can now use all sorts of things. Got the patch removal tool. This is the remove tool. Look at that, look, gone. And actually what I like to do is, again, just hold the shift key. It gives you this nice straight line. So the shift key holding down, drag it across where there's any semblance, and look, you cannot see at all where that is, where that was. Completely clear, look. But there is still, the important thing is, there is still a bit of texture in it, because you don't want it completely white. Otherwise I could literally just cut out the beach huts and just drop them on a white piece of paper, and that's a bit pointless. So I'm just going to play around with this remove tool, and it's done a brilliant job. So there we go, hold the space bar, move across to the other side, ignore that bit in a second. So the same thing, clone tool. That's really nice. So we're going to select a bit out here, press the option key. That looks about right. And then we're going to click there. We're going to hold the shift key. And that's going to allow us to do a straight line. Look, gone. Actually, it's gone too much there. So you get a problem. Control Z does it for you. Let's try again. So I just want to go on the edge of that. That's better. That's much cleaner. So that I can do that again. Get rid of that. Because I've photographed this on a grey day, suiting the conditions, it's worked really well. And that was just the spot removal, spot heal brush. There's a remove tool. Let's just go across there. And again, if we hold the shift key down, it gets rid of any lines. Now I am going to lighten this up a little bit, I think, in Nik Efex anyway. Let's make this bigger so we haven't got any tram lines going on. Look how easy this is in this version of Photoshop. Brilliant. Right, so there's those two. And now for this, same thing I need to do. Get the clone stamp tool, line it up. Actually, first thing, remember, option key. So let's go here. It's going to be slightly lower, but I don't want to have it level because it will just pull this back in and just duplicate that. So we're going to hold it there, hold the shift key, just going to click it, hold the shift key and just drag that up. I'm just looking, remember, for a little gap. Next one, option key here, option click, hold the shift key, and there we go. Look, that's worked quite well. It's not perfect, but it's not far off. And now hopefully we can do this. No, that's not going to work because the gap's not big enough. Let's try the spot here. The zoom, that's going to be the same. Yeah. I could use the patch tool, I guess, but I'm going to persevere with. Let's make this removal tool smaller, see if that makes a difference. Doesn't like it, does it? Okay, the edges are going now. Look, so you can get the edges of it off. Do it that way. Maybe it works this way. Yeah. And it's just clicking on it, really. So I'd imagine once I got it like this, let's try. I could actually lasso it. Look, watch this. I think this is going to work. I've not tried it. We could just do that. Generative fill. See what it comes up with. I'm hoping it's going to come up with something that's really clear. Let's see. Well, nearly, but I think that's now good enough for us to hit the removal tool. We need to go back. Don't forget to come back to the second layer, because otherwise it's not going to work. You should now go for the removal tool. I got rid of it. Still not going to get rid of it. I think we need to merge these two layers. I think that's what it's doing. So I'm going to click the second bit, the writing, not the actual layer. Then we're going to go layer and merge layers. Now hopefully deselect that. Actually, let's try selected that. What's going to happen here? And that's gone. Look at that. Just by merging those two layers, that's completely gone just using generative fill. Look how good that is. Let's get really close in here. This is, I don't know what percentage that is, 200%. And you cannot tell, look, completely straight. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? Right, double click the hand. And that's not looking too bad. Now there's obviously problems here. Well, problems. It's where the sky came down, if you remember the original picture. I don't quite like the way that's sitting now, so what I'm going to do is just going to work on this briefly. I'll leave the video running, but I'll fast forward it, so if you want to slow it down you can see what I'm doing. But that's going to be almost finished. Then we'll put it into Silver Efex and we'll have a little play with that. So let me just play around with this. So there we go. That's not. Well, let's have a quick look again up here. I think we're okay, aren't we? Yeah, that's fine. The sky would look like that. So I'm happy with that. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to save this. If I press save, it's going to go back into Lightroom, which is quite good. So I'm going to do that. And now what we'll do is we'll have a look at it in Silver Efex. I could, of course, take it straight out of Photoshop into Silver Efex, but I'm going to put it into Lightroom first. So here it is in Lightroom. There's the image, so you can see it's done as a duplicate there. And now what I'm going to do is going to go to Photo, Edit in Nik Silver Efex. I love the way these edit with Lightroom adjustments. Yes, I love the way that these plugins just work so well now. I'm flicking between program, and here it comes in. There's Silver Efex there. Let's just make this bigger so you can see this. So here we go. This is Silver Efex. I'll need to put it onto that. Now, what you've got in Silver Efex, we've got all the various presets. You can see over here you've got different adjustments. There are various presets, and what I tend to do, it tends to be the top ones that tend to work the best. I'm now going to have a quick look at anything that I fancy. Looks nice, and I can always lighten all these up. That's quite nice, that's quite nice. Don't think it looks too bad as it is. Full spectrum. Let's have a look at that one. If I look at this one, definitely is making a difference. We've got that kind of version. Not sure I like that now. Wet rocks is always interesting. I actually think how I had it was pretty good, but you can see there's so many different ones here that you can use. Soul Glow has got like a really soft focus on it, which kind of works. No, quite a good way actually to see how bad you get this bit here. Looks like it needs going over again, but you can see the idea. Dramatic. Some lovely, lovely effects in this program, which I really, really like. I'm going to go back to how I had it. I think it actually looks really nice with, what did we call it? It was up here, wasn't it? Bubble Wet Rock, something like that. And I'm just going to play with some of these sliders. Just got the hint of a cloud here, and this is why this is better like this than it is on a white sheet of paper, because you've still got something. Dynamic brightness works with it without destroying it all. Look at the histogram's gone really white, but there's quite a lot of whites in this. There's also, what I also like is this soft contrast. It's really nice. That works really well with this, because you can see, look, it gets rid of those clouds. Just leave a hint, and this will really depend on where you adjust this. Would really depend on what you're doing with this, whether it's going to go screen or print. If you want it on print, you do to make sure that things are coming out how you want. So I'd imagine this will be difficult to print, but that pretty much is that. We can do this and just compare it. So that's what we had, and that's what we've now got. We've definitely improved it, I think. Back to there. So now all I do is apply this, and it's done. It's going to go back into Lightroom, and here is the finished image. Nice. The only thing I'll do sometimes with this, I'll put it into Photoshop to put a frame around it, but other than that, that's pretty much done. I can of course adjust it back into Lightroom again if I want to, but that's pretty much how I do it. Right, here come the images, and then I'll round this vlog up.
So there we go. How do you think we got on? I think the more complicated image, I may well have had to use layers and masks and things like that and do some more blending, but this particular image shot with this particular finished image in mind, I don't need to get any more complicated than that. But there we go. Go and have a look on the channel if you haven't been here before. There's loads of landscape photography videos and processing videos to have a look at. So I hope you can make the time to do that. And if you like what you see, subscribe, notify yourself by clicking on the bell, because there's a video every single Sunday and the occasional Wednesday for you to enjoy. So until next week, Sunday at 6 o'clock. See you then. Goodbye.